a short while till we are actually live on LinkedIn Live. So that's why I sometimes talk a little bit. But it's very great to have you. So welcome everybody to today's Meet the Speaker with Thomas Meintrup from Mercedes-Benz. You're either watching or listening to this on LinkedIn or one of our recordings somewhere else. So welcome and glad you made it. Welcome, Thomas. So wonderful to have you with us here, but also at the conference, the Lean Leader Summit in July in Munich. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, first of all, welcome, Carsten, and thank you very much for this invitation and being part of the conference this year again. So after several times, so I have a long history, maybe giving presentation at your conference. Yes, some words about me. So yes, I'm now 5 years part of the big Mercedes-Benz family. So I joined Mercedes-Benz in 2019, just before the pandemic era. And now 5 years, I'm part of the Mercedes-Benz company. And I have one major role, actually, now for 1.5 years. I'm the Chief Enterprise Architect for the IT department supporting the RD IT landscape, the engineering IT. And as we maybe talk in this discussion, we have a lot of challenges maybe to master there. But I'm looking back to a long consulting career in the past, and I've even an employee of Lean 42 for 1 year for a Chief Enterprise Architect. I enjoyed this time very much. But also I've been the chief architect of Bräuninger in Stuttgart, and there we did amazing things like reconstructing the whole commerce platform, etc., etc. And now I'm part of Mercedes-Benz and driving maybe this company forward, hopefully.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's very impressive how you always combine kind of like with your chief architect's role, like the leading and defining and guiding perspective, but also the implementing and kind of like getting new things done, so to say. Yeah. And with that, I think the agile transformation, or you also mentioned kind of like lots of changes going on in the automobile industry, Mercedes-Benz in particular. What's kind of like unique in your current role, your current setting, and maybe how did that also inspire your talk, which is about kind of like agile transformation?
Yeah, it's a good point. So I think we don't have to tell the audience that the German automotive industry is under great pressure, actually, and it undergoes a great transformation. And as I always say, the place to be as an architect, where you have a real impact maybe on this transformation as an architect. And as I want to point out in my presentation is that digitization plays an essential role, maybe even in the automotive industry. And it's not just about talking about the software in the car itself. So it is also about maybe embedding the vehicle, our core product, in a digital ecosystem, totally connected, every time connected. And also maybe optimizing and maybe streamlining our business processes, and especially our engineering processes, how we construct new products and vehicles. And the buzzword in the world is China speed, because the China maybe automotive industry is much faster in constructing new products, changing them, bringing new features in, etc., etc. And this is one of the major driver, maybe focusing in our R&D department, gaining speed on one hand, on the other hand, driving innovations, and on the third hand, reducing the costs. Because we have a historical grown, very, very large IT landscape. We are talking about more than thousands of applications with running applications. And if somebody asks me what kind of technology you're using in Mercedes-Benz, I say anything what you can have, maybe from old COBOL stuff and even assembly code to the most modern things we are actually using for implement digital twins, etc., etc. And so in this kind of transformation, we decided in Mercedes-Benz to transform our IT department, our digital company, into an agile, product-oriented delivery organization, where business and IT is working very close together on the tasks, the problems, the challenges we are faced to. And we introduced, for instance, but you can use any framework, the SAFe framework overall in the company. And this is a challenge in itself, because it's not an easy framework. And on the other hand, architecture becomes more and more important in our company. And I focusing on the collaboration between the architects, the product owners, maybe all the stuff in the SAFe framework to ensure that maybe what we do on the enterprise architecture level, on the strategic level, have a direct connection to the agile teams implementing those solutions. And this is what I'm talking about in my presentation. And this is one of the challenges we have in our architecture community at Mercedes-Benz right now. The linkage between strategy and execution and the feedback. So what is working, what is not working, what are the right technologies, what we should avoid, etc., etc.
Sounds like a very big and holistic struggle, I would say, or task that you got on your plate there. Just for the audience here, if you want to ask a question, you can on LinkedIn. We will get to it during our short session here, or also response after this in the comments. But also, if you like to have more conversations with Thomas, but also many other speakers, come to the Lean Leader Summit. It's in a couple of weeks, in July 2nd, 3rd in Munich. It's an in-person event. We will have 150 CIOs, chief architects, head of strategy, different kind of like functions there. And I think it's a great way to pick the brain of Thomas, but also some others, and network and connect. So what, maybe because we just had the Lean Leader Summit, you've been a speaker there before, so what do you like about coming to the Lean Leader Summit?
Oh, this has several aspects. Maybe the personal connection I have to you and to the Lean 42, I just mentioned that. This is one reason. The other one is, for me, it is one of the conferences of very high quality. So all the speakers there have come from a different maybe industry, coming from different perspectives, and maybe joining this knowledge together and have the collaboration to each other. This is the value add of the Lean 42 and the Lean Summit, maybe in the last years and maybe this year, I'm sure as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Thomas. And it's what I always love about this is also the chance to ask different speakers very specifically, hey, how would you kind of like apply something to my own kind of like area? So you have the ability to get some advice because you come to the table, you bring maybe in a coffee break or after the talk, your own kind of like thing to the speaker, and then kind of like pick the brains and get some insights. So coming back to kind of like the Agile Transformation, and you managed also SAFe as kind of like a framework. What is kind of like your experience with architecture governance or lightweight or agile governance in the combined with frameworks like SAFe or agile organizations, where I think the speed is always kind of like fast, and you sometimes struggle with kind of like an architect wants to kind of like know the plan before and wants to kind of like decide up front what is the right way to go somewhere. So what's kind of your experience there, or what is a practical challenge that you have with combining architecture governance and agile?
So I think I want to point at two aspects there. The first one is maybe that it's very important that you integrate your architect community, the whole company, into this SAFe framework. And we did it really. So we used an architecture and organization model where we work closely with the systems architects, all the lead developers in the agile teams, in the agile release trains. So you have a direct connection of architecture work maybe to the delivery organization. That's the most important thing, I would say. The second thing is that you have established some kind of governance process. Nobody wants to talk about governance because it has some kind of aspect of police department, etc., but it isn't. Governance is something which focuses really on co-creation. And that's, for me, another very important point, that you work together with your solution architects to find the right solution in a given architecture frame, defined by standards, principles, etc. And this quite early in the whole process, and in an iterative approach, not in a waterfall approach. So talk to the people, connect to them, collaborate with them, and create the right solution based in an architecture framework as an integral part of the same framework. We are on the way on that, but we have the concepts. I will introduce that on the conference, and hopefully have some discussion with other maybe speakers, guys, participants on the conference to exchange the experience they had.
Excellent. Yeah, I think the bringing kind of like the whole architect community together is also kind of like something that you already did for many years at Mercedes-Benz with the, I think it's called like Hey Architect community.
Yeah, that's right. So this was the starting point. So as I joined Mercedes-Benz 5 years ago, the first thing we did, we established an internal conference. And this is the Hey Architect community and associated conference. And this was the first idea to connect the people worldwide working maybe on very interesting, very innovative maybe topics in this Hey Architect construct. But this was just the starting point. And we make progress step by step, maybe make it a little bit more formal, establish the right roles, now having some kind of formal governance process, etc., writing decision records, etc. And now, so we make progress to, I think, hopefully the right direction.
Excellent. Yeah. Is it something you mentioned kind of like the architecture decision records or architecture decision log? Is that something where you use also that community to centralize and build kind of like a knowledge base of those architecture decisions, or is it more distributed and like each team or value train in a safe framework kind of like gets to log
So our overall maybe organizational construct, I would say, is maybe decomposing the whole maybe RD space, which is huge enough, in well-defined and domain-oriented value streams. So developing digital products in a certain business domain. And based on this pattern, we organize the whole architecture community. And here we follow some kind of decentral concept, but centrally maybe supported, somehow a bit controlled, but supporting and quality assurance is the most aspect here, so that any of these value streams can decide by their own in an architecture frame, writing their decision records. We collect them all together, that we know who's decided what, and you have a clear picture about what is going on. And that's the way I want to talk about maybe in the conference.
Excellent. Is there, like when people come to the Lean Leader Summit, and there are also different sessions in parallel sometimes, what is like a key nugget that they will get from attending your session, and why should they come and listen to your talk about Agile Transformation?
Good question. I think I already mentioned that. So it is the linkage between some kind of agile framework like SAFe and an architecture organization, and connecting the strategic view, the portfolio view with the implementation. And these are the key things I'm discussing, and the ideas and measures and concepts we apply to reach this target and objective at the end.
Okay, excellent. And I think it's something where your community approach is really kind of like making the difference for you for that connection, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's just maybe we are not talking about communities, we are talking about squads, and there's a reason behind it. Because not just the community exchanging experience, such a squad has maybe the right to decide something. And this is a difference. So he has a responsibility for something. And that's the way we organize our architecture work. And as I can say, maybe now 2 years, 3 years working in that model, it is really a successful construct.
Yeah, I remember when we were consulting with you that like the squads were kind of like the term of reference for working together. Is that something that is now the term across all of IT, or is that kind of like more in the architecture space? Like how much has that kind of like
Yeah, it started really in the architecture and the software engineer area with these people maybe collaborating to each other with Hey Architect, you mentioned it. Then the whole IT becomes really a construct in Mercedes-Benz IT at all. So I'm very proud of that because I'm one of the founders of the ideas. And now that's quite interesting. We start organizing, especially our SAFE organization, in a strong collaboration of the business departments and IT departments. On any level, if you are working maybe on the solution level in SAFE, or maybe on an art level or an agile team, business IT works very close together. And the same is true for our architect community. But this is just a starting point. We are establishing business architecture role, and we as EIT architect work closely together with the business architects. And so in this pairing idea, we extend the squad idea across the boundaries between business and IT. And that's very, very important for me. We discussed it last year, I think, Carsten. I remember.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there, like, I'm just wondering what aspects are, what's for you a driver to attend a conference like the Lead Leader Summit, but you're also speaking at like some other events, so you've seen a couple, and you're also constantly going to events. So it's not something that I think it's a little bit ingrained in your personality to like be out there, be seen, but also connect. So what's the motivation there?
I think it has different aspects. So it has a personal aspect. So I like to go to conferences as a speaker, and I love to share my knowledge, my experience with other people, and also maybe get feedback from them. That's very important for me. Second thing is really networking, because I think so. Mercedes-Benz is not the only company in the situation, in the actual situation. So many other industries and companies have to really have the same challenges to solve. And so being part of a conference is a great chance to connect to other companies, people, architects, CIOs, and have this connection. Maybe this is up to me, and living this connection, and keep them in contact, and then talking about these critical things we have to master. Yeah. And
Cool.
learning something even about that.
So if you want to do it like Thomas, then show up to the Lean Leader Summit in July in Munich. We're almost sold out, so we have
Perfect.
just 150 seats, and then we're at capacity. So we are like 20 seats are still available. So we're already pretty much sold out. So if you don't have a ticket yet, get yourselves now at the Lean Leader Summit, and then you can pick Thomas' brain among, I think, 20 plus other speakers. So it's a very vibrant community that you can like tap in. And thank you so much, Thomas, for your time today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah. See you in
July.
July.
As always.
Yeah.
And for everybody out there, have a wonderful day of your wonderful day, rest of your week, and see you in Munich.